Commander Lyrelai Moonwhisper sat in her chair and stared at the blue light coming from the table. The light showed pictures that moved like a movie. But this movie was real. It showed what happened 3 days ago on planet Kepler 442b. She touched a button and the pictures started again. 6 humans walked across rocky ground. They wore simple green clothes and carried basic weapons. They looked like any other human soldiers Lyrelai had seen before. Nothing special about them, but what they did next made no sense. The humans reached a big metal wall. Behind the wall was a Draconian army base. The Draconians were large, strong fighters who looked like dragons that walked on 2 legs. They had the best weapons in the galaxy. Their base had thick walls, powerful guns and energy shields that could stop anything, or so everyone thought. Captain Maya Rodriguez was the leader of the human group. She was a small woman with dark hair. She spoke quietly into her radio. "This is Recon Team 7. We can see the target. Starting our mission now." Lyrelai had watched this part 50 times. Maya sounded calm, like she was ordering food at a restaurant, not like someone about to attack the strongest base in this part of space. What happened next still made Lyrelai feel cold inside. The human named Lauren Davis lay down on the ground. She put her eye to a long gun and looked through the scope. The base was 2 miles away. No one could hit anything that far away. The wind was strong, the air was thick, it should have been impossible. Lauren pulled the trigger 6 times. Each shot hit a different guard tower. Each guard fell down and did not get up. 6 perfect shots from 2 miles away. "Towers are clear," Lauren said. Her voice was as calm as if she had just picked flowers. Next, a woman named Katie Walsh walked to the base wall. She pulled out a small device that looked like a child's toy. She pressed it against the wall where the electronic locks were hidden. The locks used quantum encryption that took the best Elvish computers 3 days to break. Katie broke it in 4 minutes. "Doors open," Katie said. The 3 other humans moved forward. Their names were Amy Johnson, Lisa Brown, and Nicole White. They moved like water flowing around rocks. When Draconian soldiers appeared, the humans were faster. When big guns fired at them, they were already somewhere else. Lyrelai paused the picture and rubbed her eyes. She had been a soldier for 200 years. She had seen the best fighters from every planet. She had never seen anything like this. The humans fought like they could see the future. They knew where every enemy would be before the enemy knew it himself. When a Draconian soldier tried to shoot Maya, she was already moving away before he even lifted his gun. But the strangest part was how easy they made it look. Maya gave orders like she was teaching children how to play a game. "Lauren, 3 guards by the big building. Katie, shut down their power. Amy, watch our backs." Each woman did exactly what Maya said. No one argued. No one seemed worried. They worked together like they had done this 1,000 times before. The Draconian base had 300 soldiers. They had heavy armor, plasma weapons, and battle robots. The humans had 6 people with simple guns and basic equipment. It should not have been a fight. It should have been a massacre. But not the way Lyrelai expected. In 30 minutes, the human team had destroyed every defense system. They had captured the main computer. They had taken pictures of all the secret weapons. And they had done it all without getting hurt. When they were done, Maya spoke into her radio again. "Mission complete. No casualties. Returning to base." That was it. No celebration, no excitement. Just 6 humans walking away like they had finished a normal day at work. The Draconian base was left in ruins. 300 of their best soldiers were defeated. Their most secret weapons were now in human hands. And the humans acted like it was nothing special. Lyrelai turned off the pictures and leaned back in her chair. Around her, other Elvish officers worked at their computers. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of machines humming. She looked at the report on her desk. The paper said this was an attack by humanity's most elite special forces. The writers guessed that these 6 humans were the best soldiers Earth had ever made. They thought Maya Rodriguez must be like the legendary Elvish Starblades who trained for 300 years to be perfect warriors. But something felt wrong about that guess. Lirelei opened her computer and looked up information about Captain Maya Rodriguez. What she found made her stomach feel strange. Maya Rodriguez was 28 years old. She had been a soldier for only 6 years. Her training records were normal. Her test scores were good but not amazing. Her unit was called the 3rd Reconnaissance. Battalion Dar. Reconnaissance meant scouting. It meant looking and gathering information. It did not mean attacking and destroying enemy bases. Lirelei looked up the other 5 women. Lauren Davis had been in the Army for 4 years. Katie Walsh for 3 years. The others were even newer. None of them had special training. None of them came from elite schools. They were all just regular soldiers. How could regular soldiers do what she had just watched? She read their mission orders. The paper said they were supposed to observe enemy positions and report back. They were told to avoid contact when possible. They were not supposed to fight unless they had no choice. But they had destroyed an entire base. Lirelei felt a cold fear growing in her chest. If these were just regular human soldiers, what were their best soldiers like? If this was what humans called avoiding contact, what did they do when they actually wanted to fight? She thought about all the times other species had fought with humans. Every battle report said the same thing. Humans were tough but not special. They were good fighters but nothing amazing. They won some fights and lost others, just like everyone else. But what if those reports were wrong? What if humans had been holding back this whole time? Lirelei stood up and walked to the big window. Outside, she could see the stars where hundreds of different species lived. For thousands of years, everyone had thought they understood the balance of power in the galaxy. Some species were strong, some were smart, some were fast. Humans were just humans. But if 6 regular human soldiers could do what she had just watched, then everything everyone thought they knew was wrong. She turned back to her computer and started typing a message to the Galactic High Command. Someone needed to investigate this further. Someone needed to find out the truth about human military power. Because if Captain Maya Rodriguez and her team were really just a normal reconnaissance squad, then the galaxy had a much bigger problem than anyone realized. 2 weeks after sending her report, Lirelei got permission to investigate the human soldiers. The Galactic High Command wanted answers. They needed to know if humans were hiding their true strength. Lirelei chose her best spy for the job. Agent Arya Stone was half-elf and could easily pass for human. She was smart, careful, and had never failed a mission in 50 years. Find out everything about this Maya Rodriguez and her team, Lirelei told Arya. I want to know where they trained, who taught them, and what makes them so special. Arya nodded and left for human space the next day. While Arya worked, Lirelei studied more battle reports. She found 12 other fights where humans had won against impossible odds. Each time, the report said humans got lucky or the enemy made mistakes. But now Lirelei wondered if luck had nothing to do with it. 3 days later, Arya sent her first message. Found the human base where Team 7 lives, Arya wrote. It's called Fort Campbell. Nothing special about it. Looks like any other human military base. The soldiers here seem normal. They eat, sleep, and train like everyone else. But Arya's next message was more interesting. I talked to some soldiers who know Maya Rodriguez. They say she's a good captain, but nothing amazing. One soldier told me, Maya's okay, I guess. She does her job. Another said, she's not the best or the worst, just regular. Lirelei read this 3 times. How could someone just regular destroy a draconian base? Arya kept digging. She got a job cleaning offices at the base. This let her see documents and hear conversations. What she learned made Lirelei's head spin. The attack on Kepler 442b is listed as a routine patrol with minor contact, Arya reported. Maya's team got a note in their files that says, mission completed satisfactorily, not amazing job or incredible work, just satisfactory. Lirelei had to read that twice. Destroying an enemy base was satisfactory, but the most shocking news came a week later. I found Lauren Davis at the shooting range, Arya wrote. The woman who made those impossible shots from 2 miles away. She was practicing with other soldiers. Her shooting coach said she's an adequate marksman who meets basic requirements. He said if she practiced more, she might become above average. Lyrelei stood up so fast her chair fell over. Lauren Davis could hit targets 2 miles away in strong wind. And humans called that adequate? Arya's reports kept coming. Each one made things worse. Katie Walsh, the one who broke the quantum locks, works in the base computer center. Her boss says she's competent with standard equipment. When I asked if she was a genius, he laughed. He said, well, Katie, she's fine, but we have much better tech people. Lyrelei felt sick. If Katie was just fine, what could their better people do? The worst news came when Arya found Maya's performance review. Captain Rodriguez is rated as meets expectations, Arya wrote. Her commanding officer wrote that she handles routine missions adequately and shows potential for future growth. The review suggests she might be ready for more challenging assignments next year. Lyrelei had to sit down. Maya Rodriguez had destroyed a base that should have taken a full army to defeat, and her boss thought she was ready for more challenging work. But Arya was not done. Her next message made Lyrelei call an emergency meeting. I accessed the human military database, Arya wrote. The 3rd Reconnaissance Battalion has 800 soldiers split into 133 teams. Maya's team is ranked 87th out of 133 in their battalion. There are 46 teams that perform better than hers. Lyrelei stared at the message. Maya's team was below average by human standards. There were dozens of human reconnaissance teams that were better than the one that had shocked the galaxy. And reconnaissance was just for gathering information. It was not even a fighting unit. Arya's final message that week was the most terrifying of all. I found references to real human combat units, she wrote. Names like Death's Head Battalion, and Storm Riders, and Iron Wolves. The soldiers here talk about these units in whispers. They say these are the real fighters. One soldier told me, "You don't want to mess with the Death's Head boys, those guys are scary." Lyrelei printed out all of Arya's messages and spread them on her desk. She read them again, hoping she had misunderstood something. But the facts were clear. Maya Rodriguez and her team were not elite soldiers. They were not special forces. They were not even above average by human standards. They were regular reconnaissance troops who happened to be having a slow day, and they had destroyed a base that everyone thought was impossible to defeat. Lyrelei walked to her window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans had hundreds of units like Maya's team. And somewhere else they had their real soldiers, the ones other humans called scary. She thought about every war in galactic history. She remembered all the times different species had fought humans. The reports always said humans were tough but beatable. They said human soldiers were brave but not superhuman. What if all those reports were wrong? What if humans had been going easy on everyone else this whole time? Lyrelei picked up her phone and called Admiral Zephyr Starlight, head of Elvish military intelligence. "Admiral," she said, "we have a problem, a big one." "What kind of problem?" the Admiral asked. "The kind where everything we think we know about. Human military power is completely wrong," Lyrelei said. "I need to brief the entire command staff. Tonight." "How wrong?" Admiral Starlight asked. Lyrelei looked at Maya Rodriguez's photo on her computer screen. The young woman looked so normal, so harmless, like any other soldier from any other species. "Admiral," Lyrelei said, "what if I told you that 6 below-average human scouts destroyed the strongest draconian base in this sector? And what if I told you that their commanders thought this was routine work?" There was silence on the phone for a long moment. "I'll call the meeting," Admiral Starlight said finally. After hanging up, Lyrelei went back to her computer. She started writing a new report. This one would not be about 6 impressive human soldiers. This one would be about the terrifying possibility that humans had been hiding their true strength from the entire galaxy. And if that was true, then every species in space was living on borrowed time. Outside her window, the stars looked the same, as always. But Lyrelay knew that after tonight's meeting, nothing would ever look the same again. The balance of power that had kept peace in the galaxy for 1,000 years was about to be shattered by the simple truth about what humans could really do. She just hoped it was not too late to prevent a panic that could destroy everything. Arya Stone had been working undercover at Fort Campbell for 3 weeks now. Every day brought new discoveries that made her previous reports seem small. She was starting to understand that the galaxy's problem with humans was much bigger than anyone had imagined. She was cleaning the main office building when she heard 2 human officers talking. "Did you see the report from the 15th Recon?" Colonel Murphy asked his assistant. "The one from Titan Station?" Lieutenant Adams replied. "Yeah, they mapped that whole asteroid field in 2 days. Command thought it would take a week. And they found 3 pirate bases while they were at it," Colonel Murphy laughed. "Captured all of them without breaking a sweat. The pirates didn't even know what hit them." Arya pretended to dust a shelf while listening. Another human reconnaissance unit had accidentally captured 3 pirate bases while doing mapping work. The officers talked about it like it was funny, not amazing. That afternoon, Arya sent a coded message to Lyrelay. "There are more incidents. Many more. The humans don't seem to realize how impressive their soldiers are." Over the next few days, Arya learned to access the human military network. What she found there made her hands shake as she typed her reports. The 3rd Reconnaissance Battalion was just one of 847 similar units in the human military. Each unit had multiple teams like Maya Rodriguez's team. That meant there were thousands of human soldiers with the same abilities that had shocked the galaxy. But that was not the scary part. The scary part was what Arya found when she looked at human special forces. "I found references to something called the Terra Guard," she wrote to Lyrelay. "The database is mostly classified, but I found a few mentions. One report says they exceeded all performance expectations during the Vega crisis. Another says they completed the impossible mission in record time. I tried to find more details, but the files are locked with security I cannot break." Arya also discovered that humans had been fighting wars that the galaxy knew nothing about. In the past 5 years, human forces had stopped 17 different threats to galactic peace. They had done this so quietly that other species never even heard about the dangers. They stopped a robot uprising on Kepler 186F, Arya reported. The robots had built an army of 10 million units and planned to attack organic life everywhere. Human soldiers destroyed them in 6 hours. The galactic news never mentioned it. The more Arya learned, the more frightened she became. Humans were not just stronger than everyone thought. They were protecting the entire galaxy while pretending to be normal. She found training videos that showed human soldiers doing things that should have been impossible. One video showed a woman named Carol White jumping 30 feet straight up to reach a building roof. Another showed a man named Steve Miller running faster than a speeding car. "Their training is not normal," Arya wrote. "They do exercises that would kill soldiers from other species. One drill involves running 50 miles while carrying 200 pounds of equipment. Another drill has them fighting for 12 hours straight without rest, and this is just basic training." But the most disturbing discovery came when Arya found the human equipment manuals. "The weapons Maya's team used are not special," she reported. "They are standard issue. Every human soldier gets the same guns, the same armor, and the same tools. What I thought was elite equipment is actually their basic gear." Arya learned that humans made millions of these weapons every year. They were so common that human soldiers sometimes left them behind after battles because it was easier than carrying them home. Meanwhile, Lyrelay was discovering similar things from her office. She had started looking at every battle between humans and other species in the past 50 years. The pattern was clear once she knew what to look for. Humans always won, but they won slowly. They took longer than they needed to defeat their enemies. They used less force than they could have. They accepted casualties that they could have avoided. It looked like they were being careful not to win too easily. Lyrelay found a battle report from the Centauri War. Human forces had fought Centauri ships for 3 months before winning. But, buried in the technical details, she found something interesting. The human weapons could have destroyed the Centauri fleet in the first week. Instead, they had used weaker settings and fought longer. Another report showed humans retreating from a battle they were winning. The reason given was to avoid unnecessary destruction of enemy forces. Lyrelei read that line 5 times. Humans had stopped winning because they felt sorry for their enemies. The evidence was everywhere once she started looking. Humans had been holding back in every fight for decades. They had been pretending to be weaker than they really were. But why? The answer came from an unlikely source. Arya found a human textbook called Galactic Relations and Peaceful Coexistence. It was required reading for all human officers. Chapter 12 is about something called strength management, Arya reported. It says that species with too much power can make other species feel threatened. It recommends careful display of capabilities to maintain galactic stability. In simple words, it tells humans to hide their strength so other species do not get scared. Lyrelei sat in her office and tried to process this information. Humans knew exactly how powerful they were. They had been deliberately making themselves look weaker to keep the peace. They had been protecting the feelings of other species while secretly protecting the galaxy from threats no one else could handle. She thought about all the times alien leaders had made demands on human governments. She remembered trade negotiations where humans had given up valuable resources. She recalled territory disputes where humans had backed down from fights they could have won easily. All of it made sense now. Humans had not been weak or generous. They had been managing the emotions of species that could not handle the truth about human power. Lyrelei's computer chimed with a new message from Arya. "I found something that will interest you," Arya wrote. There was an incident last month. A human patrol ship found a Draconian fleet attacking a civilian transport. The human ship was outnumbered 50-1. The patrol captain, a woman named Diana Ross, sent a message to the Draconian commander telling him to stop. Lyrelei leaned forward to read the rest. The Draconian commander laughed and said, "One human ship could not threaten 50 Draconian warships." Captain Ross said, "You are right. This is not a threat. This is a warning." Then she destroyed all 50 ships in 4 minutes. But here is the interesting part. Her own report says she used minimal force to resolve the situation quickly. Lyrelei printed out the message and added it to the growing pile of evidence on her desk. Captain Diana Ross had destroyed 50 warships by herself and called it minimal force. What would humans call maximum force? That night, Lyrelei could not sleep. She kept thinking about Maya Rodriguez and her team walking calmly away from the ruins of the Draconian base. She thought about all the human soldiers across the galaxy, pretending to be normal while secretly being the most powerful force in known space. She thought about her own people, the elves, who were proud of their ancient warrior traditions. Elvish, Starblades trained for centuries to become perfect fighters, but apparently humans could train better fighters in a few years. And somewhere out there were the real human special forces, the ones that other humans called scary, the Terra Guard and the Storm Riders and units with names that were still classified. What could those soldiers do? If Maya Rodriguez was below average and Diana Ross was using minimal force, what happened when humans actually tried? Lyrelei did not want to find out. She hoped the galaxy would never see humans when they stopped being polite. Because if that day ever came, she suspected that every other species in the galaxy would learn what the word helpless really meant. The Great Hall of the Galactic High Command had never seen a meeting like this one. Representatives from 43 different species sat around the massive circular table. The room was designed to show the equality of all galactic civilizations. Today, that equality was about to be shattered. Lyrelei stood at the center of the room, her hands shaking slightly as she prepared to present her findings. Around her sat some of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Admiral Zara Nightfall of the Centauri Federation, General Thorgrim Ironshield of the Dwarven clans, Defense Minister Celeste Starweaver of the Arcturian Empire. Even the mysterious crystal entities had sent a representative. "Friends," Lyrelei began, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "What I am about to tell you will change everything we thought we knew about the balance of power in our galaxy." She touched a button, and the air above the table filled with holographic images. The first showed Maya Rodriguez and her team walking toward the Draconian base. 3 weeks ago, these 6 human soldiers destroyed what we considered the strongest enemy position in this sector, Lyrelai said. We assumed they must be humanity's elite special forces. Murmurs went around the table. Everyone had heard about the Kepler 442b incident. We were wrong, Lyrelai continued. These soldiers are not elite. They are not special forces. They are routine reconnaissance troops, below average by human standards. The murmurs stopped. The room became completely silent. Defense Minister. Celeste Starweaver leaned forward in her chair. She was an Arcturian with pale blue skin and silver eyes. Commander Moonwhisper, are you saying that below-average human soldiers destroyed our best defenses? I am saying much worse than that, Lyrelai replied. She showed new images, battle reports, performance reviews, training records. I am saying that everything we think we know about human military capability is a lie. For the next hour, Lyrelai presented her evidence. She showed how Maya's team was ranked 87th out of 133 in their battalion. She explained that their impossible weapons were standard equipment. She revealed that their amazing performance was rated as merely satisfactory by human commanders. Admiral Zara Nightfall stood up. She was tall and elegant, with the kind of bearing that commanded respect across the galaxy. Commander, what you are suggesting is impossible. Our intelligence services have studied human military power for decades. They are strong, yes, but not superhuman. That is what they wanted us to think, Lyrelai said. She showed communications intercepted by Arya Stone. Humans have been deliberately hiding their true capabilities. They have textbooks that teach their officers how to appear weaker than they really are. General Thorgrim Ironshield slammed his massive fist on the table. He was a dwarf with a beard that reached his belt and arms like tree trunks. Are you telling us that humans have been lying to the entire galaxy? Not lying, Lyrelai said carefully. Managing. They have been protecting us from the truth because they thought we could not handle it. She showed the next set of images. Battle reports where humans had won but taken longer than necessary. Peace negotiations where humans had given up things they could have taken by force. Territory disputes where humans had backed down from fights they could have won easily. They have been taking care of us, Lyrelai said. Like adults taking care of children. The crystal entity representative spoke in a voice like wind chimes. Show us their true capabilities. Lyrelai hesitated. I can only show you hints. Most of their real military power is classified beyond our ability to access. But I can show you this. New images appeared. Captain Diana Ross destroying 50 Draconian warships in 4 minutes. Human patrol units accidentally capturing pirate fleets while doing mapping work. References to Special Forces units with names like Terra Guard and Death's Head Battalion. Our best estimate, Lyrelai said, is that human military power exceeds the combined strength of every other species in the galaxy. The room erupted. Representatives stood up shouting in dozens of different languages. Some demanded proof. Others called for immediate action. A few sat in stunned silence. Defense Minister Celeste Starweaver raised her hand for quiet. If this is true, she said slowly, then our entire defense strategy is meaningless. The Arcturian Empire has spent centuries building the greatest fleet in the galaxy. Are you telling us that a single human patrol ship could destroy it? Based on what we have seen, Lyrelai said, yes. Admiral Zara Nightfall was reading something on her personal computer. Her face had gone pale. I just checked our battle records from the Centauri War. We fought human forces for 3 months. We were proud that we held out so long against their advanced technology. She looked up at the room. According to this analysis, they could have destroyed our entire fleet in the first week. They were playing with us. General Thorgrim Ironshield was shaking his head. My people are warriors. We have fought humans in the asteroid belt conflicts. We won some battles, lost others. We thought we were equals. You survived because they let you survive, Lyrelai said gently. Human policy appears to be to avoid overwhelming victories that would cause panic among other species. Ambassador Vera Cosmos of the Draconian Empire had been quiet until now. She was a massive reptilian creature with scales that gleamed like metal. You are describing a species that could conquer the entire galaxy but chooses not to. Why would they show such restraint? Lyrelay showed the final set of documents. Because they are not conquerors. They are protectors. While we have been worrying about trade disputes and border conflicts, humans have been quietly stopping threats that could have destroyed us all. Robot uprisings, alien invasions, cosmic disasters. They handle these things without telling anyone. The room fell silent. Again. This time the silence was different. It was the silence of beings who had just learned that their entire understanding of reality was wrong. Minister of War Alexis Carter from the Human Colonial Union had been sitting quietly in the observer section. Now she stood up. "May I speak?" All eyes turned to her. She was a middle-aged human woman with gray hair and a calm expression. She looked completely ordinary compared to the exotic aliens around her. "Everything Commander Moonwhisper has told you is true," Alexis said. "We have been operating under what we call the Galactic Harmony Protocols for the past 50 years. These protocols require us to match the apparent strength of other species rather than demonstrate our full capabilities." General Thorgrim Ironshield stared at her. "Why?" Alexis smiled sadly. "Because we learned from our own history. When one group becomes too powerful, others become afraid. Fear leads to alliances against the strong. Those alliances lead to wars. We decided it was better to appear weak and keep the peace. But you have been protecting us," Ambassador Vera Cosmos said. "Why protect species you could easily conquer?" "Because," Alexis said simply, "that is what protectors do. We are stronger, so we have a responsibility to use that strength wisely. Conquering you would make us bullies, not heroes." Defense Minister Celeste Starweaver asked the question everyone was thinking. "What happens now that we know the truth?" Alexis looked around. The room had all the alien faces staring at her. "That depends on you. We can continue as we have been, pretending we are all equals. Or we can find a new way to work together, one based on honesty rather than comfortable lies." Admiral Zara Nightfall stood up slowly. "Minister Carter, I need to ask this directly. If there was a war between humans and the rest of the galaxy, what would happen?" Alexis was quiet for a long moment. "There would not be a war," she said finally. "There would be a very short educational experience followed by a very long period of humans trying to help everyone recover." The truth of that statement settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Everyone understood now that the galaxy had not been balanced between equals. It had been protected by a guardian that everyone had mistaken for just another neighbor, and now that the truth was out, nothing would ever be the same again. 3 months after the emergency session, Lyrelai found herself on a transport ship heading to Earth. She had been chosen to lead the first official diplomatic mission to humanity under the new reality. Everything had changed, and everyone was still trying to figure out what that meant. The Galactic High Command had spent weeks in chaos after Minister Carter's revelation. Some species wanted to form an alliance against humanity. Others wanted to surrender immediately. A few, like the crystal entities, simply wanted to understand how they had been so wrong about everything. In the end, wisdom had prevailed. The galaxy needed to establish new relationships with humanity, based on truth rather than the comfortable lies they had all believed for so long. Lyrelay's ship landed at Andrews Spaceport outside Washington, D.C. As she walked down the ramp, she was greeted by a human woman in military uniform. "Commander Moonwhisper, I'm General Rebecca Hayes, Human Strategic Command. Welcome to Earth." General Hayes looked like any other middle-aged human woman. She had brown hair with gray streaks, kind eyes, and a gentle smile. She could have been someone's grandmother, but Lyrelai now knew that appearances meant nothing when it came to humans. "Thank you for meeting with us, General," Lyrelai said carefully. "We have much to discuss." They drove through the streets of Washington in an ordinary car. Lyrelay looked out the windows at humans going about their daily lives. Children played in parks. People walked dogs. Traffic moved slowly through busy intersections. It all looked so normal, so peaceful. It was hard to believe that these same people could reshape the galaxy whenever they wanted to. General Hayes must have seen her expression. "You look surprised," she said. "I expected something different," Lyrelay admitted. "Military parades, perhaps. Weapons demonstrations. Signs of the great power we now know you possess." General Hayes laughed. "Why would we do that? We're the same people we were last month. The only thing that has changed is that you know the truth about us now." They arrived at the Pentagon, humanity's military headquarters. Lyrelay had expected a fortress. Instead, she found a large but unremarkable building filled with people working at desks and attending meetings. General Hayes led her to a conference room where other human officials waited. There was Admiral Susan Parker from the Navy, General Mark Thompson from the Marines, and Director Lisa Anderson from Strategic Intelligence. "Please sit down," General Hayes said. "I know you have questions." Lyrelay had prepared for this meeting for weeks. She had a list of careful diplomatic questions designed to establish new protocols between species. But now, sitting across from these ordinary-looking humans, only one question mattered. "Why?" she asked simply. General Hayes smiled. "Why did we hide our strength? Or why are we revealing it now?" "Both," Admiral Parker answered first. "We hid our strength because we learned from history. On Earth, whenever one group became too powerful, others became afraid. Fear led to conflict. Conflict led to suffering. We decided it was better to appear equal to other species rather than superior. But hiding our strength had costs," General Mark Thompson added. "Other species made demands they would never have made if they knew the truth. They started wars they never would have started. They threatened innocent people because they thought we were too weak to stop them." Director Lisa Anderson pulled out a thick folder. "In the past 5 years alone, we have prevented 47 potential galactic disasters. Asteroid strikes, robot uprisings, plague outbreaks, alien invasions from outside the galaxy. We stopped all of them quietly, without taking credit, because we did not want to appear too powerful. But the Kepler 442b incident changed everything," General Hayes continued. "When your people saw what Captain Rodriguez's team could do, we realized our secret was out. We could either keep lying and hope you did not investigate further, or we could tell the truth and try to build a better relationship." Lyrelay thought about Maya Rodriguez, the young captain who had accidentally exposed humanity's true nature. "What happened to Captain Rodriguez and her team?" General Hayes smiled. "They completed their reconnaissance mission and returned to base. Maya got a standard performance review that rated her work as satisfactory. She has no idea that her routine patrol shocked the entire galaxy. You did not tell her. Why would we? She did exactly what she was trained to do. Nothing more, nothing less." Lyrelay shook her head in amazement. "Her team destroyed a draconian base that we thought was impregnable, and you rated that as satisfactory?" "The base was not impregnable," Admiral Parker said gently. "It just looked that way to species with different capabilities. For Maya's team, it was a routine obstacle. They handled it exactly as their training taught them to." "Which brings us to the real question," General Hayes said. "What happens now? How do we move forward together?" Lyrelay had discussed this with the Galactic High Command for weeks. "The other species are afraid," she said honestly. "They fear that humanity will decide to rule the galaxy openly instead of secretly." "We have no interest in ruling anyone," General Hayes said firmly. "We never have. Protection and domination are not the same thing." Director Anderson leaned forward. "Let me show you something that might help explain our perspective." She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy from above. Thousands of stars glowed in the darkness, each one representing systems where intelligent life flourished. "This is what we see when we look at the galaxy," she said. "Not territories to conquer or resources to exploit. We see neighbors, friends, people who deserve to live their lives in peace." But you could rule all of this if you wanted to, Lyrelei said. Yes, General Hayes agreed. And that is exactly why we will not. True strength is not about taking what you can take. It is about protecting what needs protection. General Thompson spoke up. We have been studying galactic history for centuries. Every time a powerful species tried to rule others, the same thing happened. They became corrupt. They became cruel. They forgot how to be anything except rulers. We do not want that to happen to us, Admiral Parker added. So we choose to remain protectors rather than conquerors. Lyrelei felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The fear that had been growing in her chest for months began to fade. The other species will want proof of your intentions. Of course they will, General Hayes said. What kind of proof would help? A treaty, Lyrelei said. Something that limits human expansion. Something that guarantees the independence of other species. General Hayes nodded. We can do that, but I want to offer something more. She gestured to Director Anderson, who activated another display. This one showed human military bases across the galaxy. We are willing to share our protection openly, General Hayes said. Instead of secretly stopping threats, we can work with other species to defend the galaxy together. Joint forces, shared intelligence, combined operations. You would give other species access to your technology? Lyrelei asked, amazed. Some of it, Admiral Parker said carefully. The defensive technologies certainly, medical advances, environmental protection systems, things that help people without enabling destruction. What about weapons? Lyrelei had to ask. General Hayes was quiet for a moment. Some weapons technology, yes, but carefully, and only to species that demonstrate responsibility. We will not give war-making tools to anyone who might use them to harm innocents. They talked for hours about the details. Treaties and trade agreements, defense partnerships and cultural exchanges, technology sharing and joint exploration projects. As the meeting ended, General Hayes walked Lyrelei to her transport. There is one more thing you should know, the general said. Captain Rodriguez and her team are being deployed next week. Where? A routine mapping mission in the Andromeda approach. There have been some strange energy readings out there. Probably. Nothing dangerous, but we want to investigate. Lyrelei thought about Maya Rodriguez and her 5 teammates, still unaware that they had changed galactic history. Will you tell her eventually about what her mission meant? General Hayes smiled. Maybe someday. But for now she has more important things to worry about, like whether her new boots will be comfortable for long patrols. As Lyrelei's ship lifted off from Earth, she looked down at the blue and green world below. Somewhere down there, the most powerful military force in the galaxy was going about its daily business. Children were playing, parents were working, soldiers were training. And somewhere, Maya Rodriguez was probably complaining about her new boots while preparing for another routine mission that might accidentally reshape the universe. The galaxy had spent centuries believing in a balance of power that never existed. Now they would have to learn to live with the truth. They were all under the protection of guardians who preferred to remain anonymous. It would take time to adjust to this new reality. Some species would struggle with the knowledge that they had never been as strong as they thought. Others would be relieved to know that someone was watching over them. But Lyrelei believed it would work out. Because despite all their power, humans seemed to genuinely care about doing the right thing. And in a galaxy full of dangers both known and unknown, having someone that powerful on your side was not such a bad thing after all. As her ship jumped to hyperspace and headed home, Lyrelei began writing her report.